has to say. Sashi from Duggal Law Firm, immigration, US immigration. So Sashi, over to you and guide us on what we need to know.
Okay. First of all, thank you so much, Sashi, for accommodating in such a short notice. Thank you. Yeah. Hello, everyone. My name is Sashi Dani. I run marketing operations for Duggal Law. Ashima Duggal, who is the managing partner, couldn't be here because Nagaraj called us like 12 hours ago, and he said, we have this big gathering of a lot of Desi investors. Can you guys come and present? And Ashima said yes, but then she got sick. So she enrolled me to come and present. So I would, few disclaimers because of that. I know enough about immigration law, but I'm not an expert or a lawyer. I'll provide information in the presentation, so you can reach out to me or reach out to Ashima after this presentation to get specific advice. Today, we'll be talking mostly about two visa options, EB-1 and EB-5. You guys may have heard of these options, and the beauty of these two options is they help they help put you on a pathway to a green card, which we all know if you're here on H-1B visas, how important that is. So let me get into the presentation. All right, disclaimer, standard disclaimer. This is information for your benefit, but you should talk to a lawyer before you act on any of this information. Quick overview. Duggal Law has been in the business for probably more than 15 years. We have about 10 team members, combined experience of over 60 years. We represent clients all the way from Fortune 500 companies to startups, as well as individuals and families. We provide a full suite of services. We help clients with work visas, but we really specialize in permanent residency, and we also help folks with on the pathway to U.S. citizenship. Okay, what is the goal today? It's basically to talk about the EB-1A and EB-5 visa options, and talk you through what they are, talk you through what the criteria of each of these options are, and talk you through what the process looks like. And then I'll be hanging out on the side. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer any questions. You can also reach out to us after this presentation. All right, so let's get started with the first one, which is EB-1A. So EB-1A, you probably heard it being referred to as extraordinary ability. And this option basically, if you meet a certain set of criteria, you can actually self-petition for a green card. This doesn't require you to have an employer sponsor or require you to go through the labor certification. The challenge of this option is that the proof of standard is pretty high compared to, let's say, a work visa. And the thing is, that said, if you actually have the right strategy and have the right plan, it's highly achievable, right? Like we have helped, engineers who have come here on a H-1B visa proactively plan and get themselves on a pathway to get to this EB-1A visa and do that successfully. So it requires you to start planning early, much like planning for, planning on a real estate investment. So who qualifies for EB-1A? So USCIS basically publishes a long list of criteria. The regulations cover many, many pages. But typically, the way to think about it is there are 8 or 9 criteria, and you need to meet 3 of those 8 or 9 criteria. And the final thing with EB-1A is you need to convince USCIS that you are extremely well qualified, you're an extraordinary achiever, and you will contribute very positively to the US economy go forward. So that is a subjective test, and that requires expertise and experience in immigration law to develop the case in the right way, so USCIS doesn't reject your petition. Why choose EB-1A? Obviously, we all know the hassles of being in the US on a H-1B visa, with years and decades of waiting for that green card. And that also means that you are stuck with an employer. If you can get an EB-1A visa, you basically you don't need to be employed with with an employer. You don't need to go through the labor certification process, which is a pain in the butt. You also, typically it's the fastest option. And then obviously, if you qualify for a green card, you can go live wherever you want. All right, so there's a lot of text on this page, but I do want to spend a little bit of time helping clarify what those criteria are and what do they really, really mean. I'll also try to give you some illustrative examples, so it becomes clear when we say, for example, awards. What do we mean by awards? So let's go through them one by one. So the first criteria is awards. So typically, if you read the regulations, it says awards is a Nobel Prize or an Olympic gold medal. But we know that most of us will not get a Nobel Prize or an Olympic gold medal. So the thing with awards is it's subject to interpretation. So all you need to do is convince USCIS that, let's say you got an award from an association in your field. All you need to convince USCIS is that that award is given to, let's say, the top 1% or the top 2% of professionals in your field. And it is a valid award. And you basically think of it as a point system. So the more number of points you can collect against each of these criteria, the stronger your application is. So you can think of what awards you can get. And the one key flag here is these cannot be awards you get from your own employer. If they are those kinds of awards, they are valid as long as they are also recognized outside the company. Right? Let's say your company says you are the expert engineer on topic A. Is that award also recognized in the broader engineering field? If it is, it counts. The next one is memberships. Memberships also require strategic planning because you can easily you can pay your way into any organization. But for the specific purpose of USCIS, you need to be invited to become a member in an organization. So that is important. So you can't just say, I'm going to pay $100 and become a member of organization X, and hence this is a membership that I'll put against it that will not qualify. You need to be invited to become a member, or you need to be invited to become an office holder in an organization. Media. So media here refers to any mentions of you on the radio, in the newspaper, in a magazine. This actually can also be strategically planned because we work with PR organizations and PR teams to build profiles of our clients over time. So you can actually develop the media profile that enables you to get an EB-1A visa. Judging is the next one. Judging, all it means is that you need to be invited to judge something. It can be judge a conference, judge a meeting that is related to your professional field. You can be asked to judge a tech competition. So again, this is a very flexible criteria that if you plan well, you can easily score points on this criteria. Contributions. So this typically, the way the regulations are written it's mostly focused on research and research scientists. So they talk about citations and the like. Sure, if you have patents and citations, that's great. I mean, some of you are very smart engineers in this room. You may have patents and citations, which makes the job very easy. But if you don't have those, you still can try to publish. It can be, and there are a lot of forums now that want people to, give them content. So you can publish your content on any of these industry forums, and that will count towards your application. Role. Role here, they say, do you have a critical role? What do we mean by a critical role? Think of it very simply as the closer you are to the C-suite, the more points you have, right? So if you can, for example, prove that you're 2 layers down from the CEO of your company, that implicitly says that you have a critical role. The other way to think about it is how reputable is your organization or the company that you work with, right? An example is, let's say you work for a big tech firm like a Google or a Apple. Everyone knows of a Google or an Apple. USCIS knows of a Google and an Apple. So it's easier to establish that you have a critical role, even if you're not, let's say Sundar Pichai, right? Salary, again, here salary has a very specific interpretation. USCIS looks at, do you actually have significantly higher salary compared to the average salary in your geography? So let's say you're a software engineer. Are you making, say 5x to 10x than what an average software engineer makes in your area? Again, some of us who have fairly good industry experience do make very handsome salaries in Bay Area. So, and what we have found in our firm, from our firm experience, is that a lot of people do actually qualify on this criteria. The final thing in blue is also very important because it's subjective. So this is where the skill of the attorney and the skill of how the case gets developed matters. An example of this is if we can network your way into, let's say, to the VP or the SVP of your company and get them to give you a recommendation letter, that boosts your chances almost 50x compared to getting a recommendation from your manager. Yeah, great. We need the recommendation from your manager, but that doesn't really help in developing a strong EB-1A case. All right. I'm just not going to go through all of the details here, but I think just to quickly run through this, the process looks like this. First, we need to develop the strategy. So think long term, think almost like a year out before you even get to the point where you can apply for this visa. Sorry, I'm Duggal. Start collecting evidence. Because this is a process, it's a journey, it doesn't happen instantaneously. So you need to collect all the evidence that you need to build your case. Start thinking about who can give you those letters of recommendations, or who can you actually network, professionally develop a network and connect with, who can recommend you, let's say 6 months down the line, because you have known them better and you have developed that relationship. Then you develop the brief, you get the right letters of recommendation. Typically these cases run into anywhere from 200 to 500 pages. And literally you ship USCIS a 500-page document. That is your application. Once that application goes through, because these are very tough, USCIS often comes back with an RFE, essentially a request for further information or request for evidence. And again, depending on how skilled your attorney is and how much experience they have, which we have a lot of experience because we do EB-1As, like hundreds of them in a given year. That way you'll be able to face off against USCIS and convince them that you qualify for this visa. And once the petition gets approved, they'll give you a priority date, and obviously you all know about priority dates. Based on the priority date that you get, you can apply for the adjustment of status and get your green card and live a happy life. If you are outside, it probably doesn't apply, but like let's say you're in India and you're trying to apply for this, or you end up in India, there is another step which is basically you have to go through consular processing, which can add a little bit more time to the process because you have to go to a U.S. consulate, get an appointment, go through an interview, then come back to the U.S. But we have had some clients who had to do this because they for example, they couldn't get a H-1B renewal. All right. Finally, I just want to take quickly. I think I covered most of these, but I think one of the things I wanted to share some examples on this slide. So, few things to think about if you are thinking of EB-1A is think about like what is your distinguishing factor, right? Like here I give you two examples, which is just don't say you're a medical researcher or just don't say you're a machine learning engineer. How distinguished are you? Or if you're not distinguished, how can you get distinguished? What is your point of differentiation? Think about all the objective evidence you can start collecting or strategically plan to collect by the time you're ready to apply for EB-1A. And then I also mentioned this, letters of recommendations matter a whole lot. So the more prestigious and the more senior people who can give you a recommendation, USCIS weighs them much more heavily. And then again, you need the right long-term strategy to win these cases. All right, I'll go to the next one, which some of you may also have thought about, and it's probably more relevant to the topic of today's meeting, which is around investment visas. So I'm going to talk about EB-5 investor visas next. So what is an EB-5 investor visa? Basically, you need to invest a certain dollar amount in the US and be able to create at least 10 US jobs. And the US Congress passed a law to enable and attract foreign investment into the US. What happens, similar to EB-1A, you can self-sponsor, you don't need an employer sponsor.
Is it audible for everybody on the back side?
Oh, okay. I'll try. Maybe I'll speak a little louder then. Is this better?
This mic is better, or that is better for you? Okay. Maybe you can come a little bit on the front side, because you guys missed on the very important discussions on the EB-1A, right? Like when you discussed about the EB-1A.
Sure.
I think you can just go back.
This one? This one?
No, I think that slide is better. I think previous slide, yeah. See, I'm not an attorney, as you said, but a lot of people get confused or think that they don't qualify for an EB-1A as soon as they look at this 8 points. But talking to the attorney here, right, that is where they can tell you how can you make it fit in there.
Exactly. Right? It's about developing the right strategy and also planning ahead, because to develop a strong EB-1A case takes time. So you almost need to say, okay, if I want to apply for an EB-1A 9 months later, what do I start needing to do now?
Yeah.
And we have helped many clients actually build those plans and successfully check boxes over those 9 months. So by the end of 9 months, we have the evidence ready, we have the recommendation letters ready, we have the media ready, so we can build the case and ship it to USCIS and win the case.
I think that is where the EB-1A strategy is very important, and you need to sit with the attorney, because if you look at that, there's a 3 points you need to fit in, right?
Yeah.
3 or 2 points you need to fit in.
You need to win. Essentially, you need to almost put a check mark against 3 of these 8. You don't have to put a check mark against all of 8. So let's say you have a critical role and you have a high salary, you already are qualified on two.
Yeah.
So then all you need to do is qualify on one more.
Yeah, that is where don't get panicked as soon as you hear about EB-1A, but only talking to the attorney and give your right source of information, what you have done from the beginning of engineering days. I can put it as an engineering days.
Yeah.
It starts from your engineering days, maybe from your childhood itself, right? You have done something running or I don't know. That makes an exception thing. Talk to the attorney, bring in each and every point what you have done from the beginning. That helps you out. I think there was my friend was there around here. He wasn't a regular engineer.
Yeah.
Okay, but he works for a good NVIDIA company.
Yeah.
He has a 10 years experience.
Oh yeah,
and
that's a very strong case.
and he doesn't have any publications.
But you can easily get, even if you need publications, you can easily develop that evidence, right? If you're an engineer, let's say you have come here, you have gotten a master's, right? And as part of getting that master's, you probably were part of a professional society, and you probably, published an article. That also qualifies as a publication. You don't need to publish a research paper, in an engineering journal to qualify for a publication.
Yeah.
So yeah, great points.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'll try to speak louder, and again, as I said, after the presentation, I'll hang out on the side. So if anyone wants to come talk to me, I'm happy to spend some more time talking about any of these matters. All right, so investor visa, EB-5. So the key criteria for this visa is you need to make a minimum level of investment in the US, and that investment should generate 10 US jobs. What is required? So people say, okay, how much money are we talking about? In non-Bay Area terms, it can be significant, but in Bay Area terms, it's not that significant, right? So based on where you invest in the US, the investment ranges from 800K to 1.05 million. So 800K is in areas that are economically challenged or rural areas, where when this law was written, they basically reduced the threshold to encourage investment flow into those areas. So you can invest directly, so you can open a business and invest through that, or you can go through what are called regional centers, which are approved. Essentially, think of it as investment firms approved by USCIS. That all they do is they pool money across multiple investors and invest in a large project. Like they invest in a multi-tenant apartment complex or a long-term healthcare facility that you cannot get off the ground with $1 million. You probably need like $20 million. Why choose EB-5? Again, it's a pathway to get a U.S. green card and citizenship. You and your family can live here, work here, study here. No job offer is required, or labor certification is required. And depending on the country, for us Indians, actually Chinese have the most difficulty with this, because Chinese have been aggressively going after EB-5A for probably more than 10 years. So Indians are getting smart, but we still have, compared to Chinese, our wait times are significantly lower. So you can get a green card on this path. Typically, what we have seen is somewhere from 2 to 3 years. Unfortunately, in the U.S. immigration system, everything is backlogged. So even this is backlogged, but compared to some other options, the backlog is not as bad.
Yeah, I think especially all the investment properties or the property prices going up in the Bay Area is one of the reasons is the EB-5.
Correct.
Okay, because of the EB-5, a lot of investments are happening through an EB-5 visa. That is where if you see the prices, sometimes it's cash only offers, right? That's all in EB-5 visas.
Yeah. So I'll just quickly talk a little bit about some of the dynamics of EB5 visas, right? I think I already covered the dollar requirements, 800K or 1.05 million. What we also have observed is one key thing to flag is, as an attorney or as a law firm, we can advise you on the quality of your investment. You need to work with a qualified professional like Nagaraj or Sanjeev Gupta ji and figure out, does that investment actually make sense for you, right? Like, we have had clients who come to us and say, can you tell us where should we invest? Yes, we can connect you to people who can give you that advice, but we are not experts. The second thing I also want to flag is, given that people typically get thrown off by that, you need to create 10 US jobs. You don't have to create 10 US jobs directly. You can go through, there are what are called regional centers. There are 640 of these which have been approved by USCIS. That you can go through, that will basically create the jobs on your behalf. So you can essentially be a passive investor in one of these, essentially a passive investor in these regional centers, put in the 800K or 1.05 million and try to get yourself on the pathway to a green card. The other thing I want to flag here is this EB passed an act in 2022, and that actually enables H-1B visa holders to concurrently file for an EB-5. So think about that as an option if you're here on a H-1B visa. All right. Again, there's a lot of text on this page. I'll give you the key highlights. The first thing is, as I said, do your own due diligence. As with any investment, you need to understand your own risk. You need to understand what kind of returns you need, how much money you have, all that good stuff. What we will do is we'll ensure that when you come to us and work with us on EB5, we'll ensure that the investment qualifies for these EB5 criteria. Then you need to actually invest your dollars. You can't keep the dollars in your bank and say, I'm investing. Your investment has to be at risk. In other words, it has to be a real investment, right? You can't say, I'm going to transfer money to Nagaraj and he'll hold it for me for 2 years and I'll get an EB5. That won't work. It actually has to go into an investment. The thing is, you don't have to invest right away. You can put the dollars in an escrow account, but the escrow account is initially structured in a way that if you get the visa, the dollars flow into the investment right away, right? Once we file in terms of the process, once all these criteria are met and then you have the investment ready, you have worked with the right regional center or right investment professionals, we can prepare the application, we'll submit the application. USCIS is taking something like 18 months to approve these applications. Once they approve this application, you basically can file for what is called a conditional green card. So USCIS gives you a green card for 2 years. They give you a green card for 2 years for the primary reason that they want to make sure the investment is real, right? So what happens is you get a conditional green card for 2 years, and then you have to apply for adjustment of status to get that conditional green card, just like most visas. And then after 2 years have passed, at the 21 months mark, you apply. You have to petition again to get the permanent green card. And basically, at that point USCIS checks and sees, is your investment real, and has it generated the jobs this act was supposed to, was crafted to help, right? And if you check the box, they give you the permanent green card, right? And that's valid for 10 years, and you can apply for residence, U.S. citizenship after 5 years. Yeah, go ahead.
So put your dollars to work. How long it takes for them to give you the conditional green card?
That's what I said, right? Like, it takes. Think of it as about 2 years.
Okay. So what, like, if in case if you're coming from an out of country, you don't have a visa status.
Yeah.
What visa status are you going to be at until you get a conditional paper?
So suppose you're on a H1B visa, right?
Yeah.
You can be on a H1B visa and apply for EB5.
What if I'm from out of state, like we don't have a visa, so
Yeah, you can apply from abroad too. Yeah. And we have examples like we had like a client from Pakistan, and they wanted to come. They had some family here, but they had more money. They're extremely wealthy people, so they actually invested in a multi-family apartment complex in New Jersey area, and they were able to get an EB5. They didn't need any visas because they went through a regional center, they applied, and we helped them with the petition.
They only moved to the US, or they stay like back in Pakistan until they get the conditional green card?
They stayed back in Pakistan. Yeah.
If any follow-up questions, he'll be available after this. You can talk to him.
Yeah. So just to quickly wrap up, right? I think both these EB-1A and EB-5 are very attractive options for many of us here in the room to get that green card, and it's much faster than going through your classical H1B employer path. Again, as Nagaraj and we were discussing, right? You need to have the right legal strategy and the right plan, and you need to do this early. Like you can't say I'm going to apply for EB5 tomorrow and come to us and say let's go, because it doesn't work that way, right?
It needs a planning.
It takes planning. Yeah.
The reason I'm introducing to EB-1A and EB-5 is at the end of the day, you will be investing in the real estate.
Yeah.
See, there's a lot of people think H1B is the only option for you guys, or EB2, right? Or EB2 or EB3, which is going to take you 30, 40 years. If you take EB-1A, there's an alternative. Now, I think the EB2, you'll not be impacted. Current EB2 also, right? Like you still can stay in the EB2 and you can try on a EB1
Yeah,
also.
exactly. Yeah, you can go from EB2 to EB1. You can, if you're on EB2, you can go apply for EB5.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Again, just to conclude, yeah, please reach out to us. Again, as I said at the top of the meeting, I am not the attorney, so please reach out to us. I have information that I can share. Like, here's our contact information. You can call us, you can email us, you can go to our website and schedule a quick consult. We can talk to you. Each client we talk to has their own specific challenges and considerations and